Hello, everyone. I'm Abigail Ingersoll Olmstead. I was born in the mid-1700s right here in Ridgefield. Now, when I got married, I lived in, this beautiful little salt box, and it was on South Salem Road and Olmstead Road. Oh, I loved this house so much. Now, what was my claim to fame? Well, my claim to fame was my red petticoat and waving it out the second story window of my salt box. Now, I know you're thinking, well, what a big deal is that? Well, when you listen to my story, I think you're going to understand. Well, I was an Ingersoll, and I was very proud to be an Ingersoll. My father was Jonathan. He was a reverend of the First Congregational Church on the Green. He was very well respected. He was a strong Tory supporter. He believed that the British should be in charge. It was okay to be taxed by the British. They were taking care of us. Well, I also had a relative on my father's side who signed the Constitution. Well, it shows you that at that time, families were split. I'm for the Tories. I'm for the Patriots. Neighborhoods were split. It was a very split time in history. Well, you can see this. I married Captain David Olmstead. Oh my goodness, there was no one more patriotic and for the colonists than he was. We even named one of our sons, George Washington Olmstead. Oh, George was his hero. Now, my husband had lost two cousins to the British. Oh, he was very bitter about this. My husband had also fought as a volunteer in battles at White Plains, Fairfield, and West Point, and he was going to take part in the only inland battle in Connecticut during the Revolutionary War, the Battle of Ridgefield. Oh, was my husband a staunch patriot. It is now April 26th. 1777. And my husband calls George and myself together, and the younger children are all in bed, and he said, Abigail, George, I want to prepare you for tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be a tough day. It is your job to take care of the house and the children while I am doing battle. He said, I want you to look out the window to the north. We looked out the window. Oh, they were burning Danbury. Why Danbury? The British needed the supplies, the machinery, the weapons, the food, the tents, the boots, the liquor. They needed everything. So they had gone inland to Danbury, taken the supplies, burned and looted, and the next day they were coming through Ridgefield. They didn't expect anything in Ridgefield, or didn't think they expected anything in Ridgefield. They were going to go down to Norwalk, get in the ships, go to New York City and do battle there. Well, what happened basically was this, and David explained this to us, that their beloved General Worcester, Brigadier General Benedict Arnold, he was on our side then, and Colonel Lunnington were going to lead 800 of the colonial troops against 2,000 of General Tryon's troops coming from Danbury. Now, what they were going to do, and it was their plan, build a barricade on Main Street right between these cliffs. So when the troops came by in their bright red coats, they would be able to capture, to pick them off. They thought the strategy would really work well, and they were prepared. prepare. So that's what was supposed to happen. And then we'll hear the rest of the story. Father said to us, I want you all to be in the root cellar all day. I'm going to leave way before dawn in the morning to get the troops together. You go down in the root cellar, take anything that is valuable with you and keep the children down there. I don't want you to come out until the battle is over, till you hear nothing and until I get home. With that, we all got down on our knees and we prayed. Father went to bed. I went to bed. I absolutely could not sleep. Would my husband come back from the war? Would I be able to protect my children and my house? I had never been in a situation like this before. The next morning, my husband got up early. I had not slept a wink. I don't think he had either. Off he went. And I prepared the children to go downstairs. Oh, we could hear the cannons, the muskets. We could see fires before we went down. Oh, it was so very frightening. But we did as we were told. Women always did as they were told at that time. All day long, we heard commotion and noise, but we stayed put. Around dinner, I came up quickly just to get something for the kids to eat. And I heard something outside in the street, and I looked out. Oh my goodness, no, as I looked out the window, I saw some of the British. They were coming up our walk. They must have been going back to their camp. They were going to loot. They were going to burn. They could harm us. Almost without thinking, I ran upstairs, opened up the drawer, took out my beautiful good luck prized red petticoat, and I waved it out the second floor window, hoping they would say, red petticoat, red coat, she is a Tory. We can leave her alone. That is exactly what happened, and they left. Again, I got down on my knees and I thanked God that they had left. Oh, anyway, late that night, my husband came home. George and I were the only ones up. He said, I can't talk. It was not good. I need to rest, eat, and sleep. I will tell you in the morning about what happened. The next morning, very early before the others got up, I started to fear how I was going to tell him what I had done. David started off and he said, oh, it should have gone well. It did not, because they found out, the British found out somehow about our plan. They went around and skirted the cliffs and coming down directly through Main Street. About 20 of the colonists were killed. 40 to 80, they figured, were wounded. They figure a few more of the British were killed. Maybe 100 of them were wounded. Some were missing, but we had missed the goal. They had continued to Norwalk, gotten on the ships, and gone on to New York City. And then my husband put down his head and he started to cry. And my son and I had never seen him cry before. He said, we lost General Worcester. He was our finest military leader. He was young, he was dynamic, he knew the strategies. His horse was shot. The horse fell on him. He got tangled in the harness. A British soldier came over and shot him. My husband paused and he said, I'm just happy and thankful you are okay. The family is okay and the house is okay. At that point, I took a deep breath and I said, David, I have something to tell you. I came up to get food for the children after the battle had stopped. I looked outside, I saw the British coming up the pathway. I almost didn't think. I went upstairs. I took my red petticoat. I waved it out the windows, hoping the British would think I was a loyalist and they would leave us alone. And they did. They left. They didn't enter the house. My husband did not say anything. His face got white. His eyes got big. And he started yelling at me and said, what did you do? You deceived me. You deceived everyone. You know how I hate the British. I'm sacrificing my life. And you make them think we're British. How? How could you ever have thought of doing this? We would have been better to have had the house burned down than what you did. Oh my God. I had never expected an eruption like this. I went to the pantry and I just hid my hands in my apron and cried. And George was so afraid. He went up to his room. By dinner, I had myself together. We had dinner. We spoke very little. We never, ever talked about that incident again. We stayed married, had 4 more children. My husband became a lieutenant, was very active in town, became a selectman, also went on to become a congressman, became very well known, but we never spoke about the red petticoat incident ever again. Before I finish, I want to tell you now the true story was the one I just told you, but there is a fictional account of the red petticoat. Same war, same house, time period, but here we have the Boughton family. This book came out in 1969. It was written by Jean Palmer. She was a local author. She loved this story and Sybil Ludington, and she sort of put them together. Now, in this story, the battle is going on. There's Eliza, who's 14, his brother Jeremy, who is 13, a mother, father, and Luke, who was a wounded soldier for the colonists. While the family is at home, they hear a knock on the door. Oh, they go. Oh my goodness, there is this terribly wounded young soldier on their doorstep. The 3 of them take him, put him on the kitchen table. Oh, he's bleeding. They make tourniquets. They clean him up. And then Eliza, the girl, hears something. She looks out on the street. Oh no, the British. They're coming down the street. They're turning into their salt box. If they find this young man, they will capture, they will kill him. She runs upstairs, opens her dresser drawer, and waves her red petticoat again, hoping to deter the British because they will think that she is a Tory. Oh, the British turn away. She is so thankful. She rushes downstairs to help Luke, and she finds that Luke is standing there with 2 pieces of paper in his hand. And he's trying to tell them important messages have to get to George Washington, Tarrytown by tomorrow. Get these to George Washington. Well, everybody's doing battle. Nobody is really around. What are they going to do? They have no neighbors. Eliza is a very strong, independent girl. She says to her mother and her brother, we are going to take the message to George Washington. Her mother says, no, Eliza, you can't do that. And Jeremiah says, can we really do this? And she said, yes. Jeremiah, get the horses ready, get blankets. It's going to be cold at night, and get us some food. I am going to get us a basket. I'm going to put medications in it. I'm going to put herbs. And her brother says, why? We have to have a reason. We are going to see our sick grandmother. Repeat, Jeremiah. We are going to see our sick grandmother. She then took the red petticoat that she had weighed. She ripped it apart, and she put the message in the hem of it and sewed it up. Jeremiah said, what are you doing? She said, I'm concealing the message. What if they found the message on us? They're not going to touch me. They're not going to touch my undergarments. Oh, said Jeremiah. And they were off. It was a long, hard ride. They were stopped many times on their journey. They were going to see their sick grandmother. They just had to get through. They were young kids. There was a girl. What could they know? What could they do? Early in the morning, they got to George Washington's camp in Tarrytown. George was asleep, but one of his officers took the message. Oh my goodness, he was so thankful. He could not thank them enough. He took the name of their father and the regiment that he was with. Eliza, Jeremiah got home mid-morning. Oh, their mother had been praying the whole time that they would be saved. She was proud of them, and they were proud of themselves. They thought that was the end of it. 3 weeks later, there was a letter in a package. The letter, handwritten, George Washington thanking them for their bravery and telling them how they had helped in the war effort. There were also 2 little small medals that he sent them. And then there was a package for Eliza. She opened it, the most beautiful red silk, so she could make herself a new red petticoat, because she had ruined the other one, concealing the message in it. So we have the true story of the red petticoat, and we have the not true story of the red petticoat. For many years, every 4th grade student in Ridgefield learned these 2 stories. They are so important. Why? We learn about the power of fewer soldiers, but fighting with a passion. We learn about great leaders. We learn that families were split over which side they belonged to. We learn that women either took the side of their father, or when they married, they took the side of their husband. We learned that women could be strong. Today, you can go to where the battle was. Museum of the Streets on Main Street show you where that barricade was. You can also go to Museum of the Streets, Olmstead and South Salem, and read and see the Red Petticoat House. But what I want you to think about is this question. Did Abigail, did I do the right thing in waving my red petticoat and deceiving the British to save my family? Or should I have been honest and open and followed what my husband said and be willing to have the house burned down? Also, would I possibly have believed in my father and how he felt about the British because I lived with him for so many years? Or did I go along with my husband, who I had really not been married to for very long? There's a lot of key questions that go with the story of the Red Petticoat. Thank you for listening. I hope you will come back next week. You heard me mention Colonel Luddington. You heard me mention Sybil Luddington. These are the two people we're going to be talking about next time. Oh, Sybil, 16, is compared to Paul Revere. However, she had a harder ride and a longer ride than the 40-year-old man.